We could start, huh? It's 4:05, so good afternoon officially from my side, and welcome to the second day of our training course, Youth on Air. So we prepared some interesting stuff for today. Also, I see some new faces from our partner, from UK. It would be also nice to introduce yourself. So from my side, I'm Igor. I'm going to be your moderator in today and in the next 3 working days. Each session we will have some of our experts that are in charge for drafting the toolkit, which, as I said, it's supposed to be fine-tuned based on your inputs in the next 4 working days. It's one of our objectives from this training course, but in general, it's also we are here to further develop our capacities to create and practically open and start up with a community radio. That's why we're going to speak today about these topics. So maybe before we move on to presentation of the program and to what our experts prepare for today, I will kindly ask people that just joined us, that skipped the first day, maybe to briefly introduce themselves. Just unmute yourself and tell us, please, a couple of words about you. And also, it will be also nice to see, to tell us something about your expectations out of this training course, which we have shared yesterday. And also some of you maybe potential contributions to this group learning, maybe some from your background, something that you're currently working that could help other participants that maybe don't have expertise in that field. So anything you consider would be interesting, please share with us. So who wants to start?
I'll go for it. Thank you. My name's Georgia and I'm from the UK. And I live kind of near a small town called Hebden Bridge, up in the hills where it's nice and cold at the moment. And I kind of have more experience, not very much experience in radio so much, but more so in music and sound art, audio art. So I'm kind of coming more from that perspective. So my expectations for this training and for the commission as well is to learn more about radio. But I have got some experience kind of facilitating youth projects, both with children and older young people and vulnerable adults as well. So I guess, yeah, I'm really excited to learn how to bring those two together, the radio side and kind of the youth facilitation stuff. So that's me. I'll pass on to whoever's next.
Thank you, Georgia. Sorry, my internet connection was unstable at some moment, but I joined at the last moment what you said about your expectations and on. So really nice to have you here. Welcome. Okay.
Hello, my name's Lorian. I live in Manchester, England. I'm a musician and a live and studio sound engineer. I also facilitate youth workshops, mostly in kind of digital music creation. And again, like George, I don't have too much radio experience. It's more in music itself. But I am a devourer of podcasts. I love podcasts, and I'm really excited about maybe getting the chance to develop some podcasts with some young people, and to see where they take, what direction they take in making a podcast. Yeah, that's
great. Thank you, Lauren. Really nice too. And yesterday, when we were introducing each other, many people said that music is something very important in their lives, and that so please, Simone and other people together now with Lauren, please be free to share some good music in some breaks or be at the beginning of our sessions and so on. And I think that we yesterday started to create very, pretty relaxed atmosphere in this. So it's not of course, there is a necessity for some kind of a structure, but it's not like that it's our fortress. That's, of course, it's supposed to be our guideline that need to cover the topics that we have envisaged, but mostly in a way that's going to satisfy the needs of people that are coming to this training course. So thank you for this, and really welcome. So I think, do we have another one? Yeah, I think Huma.
Hi, I'm Huma. I'm also from the UK and I live in Manchester. I just hearing everyone like they have some sort of an experience with music or something. Like I am completely like from the visual arts background. I have worked extensively with you know, carrying out workshops and stuff like that. That's my baby in the background. Please ignore his little rattle. So I have worked extensively with people with learning disabilities and people from hard to reach backgrounds and youth as well, carrying out lots and lots of art workshops and stuff. So for me, this is like completely new territory. The only experience I have with radio is when I've ever just been on radio. And stuff like that, just for like my work. I've been on radio a couple of times and that's pretty much it. I have facilitated a few people with their projects with audio recordings and stuff, but that's pretty much where my experience stops with the realm of audio and, you know, radio. So
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Huma, so much. Together with us is Tamara as well, and she's going to be our expert and trainer for the next session. So Tamara, you can also introduce yourself now, or you can keep this for the second session when you're going to be the special guest star. So
yeah,
choose when you want to.
Hi, everyone. I just joined silently. Well, I was hoping that it's going to be a silent joining to see how you're doing and so on. And then we'll speak and we'll spend actually more time together in the next session and in the one week after. And I think it's really exciting that you want to learn about radio and maybe you don't have experience now, but I'm quite sure that after some of the sessions, you'll get some experience and that you're going to create great podcasts later on. So yeah. Have a great session now and talk later.
Thank you so much. Okay, I think we are ready to continue with today's program. Before I give a floor to Maria to present stuff that she prepared, very, very briefly to introduce you with what we have prepared for today. If you remember from this agenda sent by your coordinators, people from your organization, probably you remember that we so prepared for today that each session is going to last practically every day, and it's especially for newcomers. So each day we're going to work from 4 till 7 p.m. Brussels time. About Zoom, probably you're very much familiar with using this platform, but it's because of many things willingly and unwillingly went to this platform. But of course, please keep your mics off, and if you want to say something, there is option raise hand. In participants, you press just the participant button, there is option raise hand, and also you can use chat for sharing any of your thoughts or questions or anything. We are not so big group, so there's no problem, just unmute yourself when you want to speak about something. We have agreed yesterday that we're going to keep our cameras on as much as possible. Of course, if you have anything that you need to do on your private or professional basis, please, of course, there is no problem to leave the meeting, finish what you have to do, and please come back. And of course, we respect all of your things that you have. So for today, in the first session, we plan to speak about the best practices of youth and community radio. Maria prepared some, together with Ivana from SEED, prepared some a nice best practice examples. So we're going to discuss a little bit, so to see to what extent it could be applicable to your situations back in your countries, in your communities, potential obstacles that you can identify here to start up with some community radio, based on the presented best practice examples, but also based on the current situation that you have within your organizations or in the community that you're living and working and so on. And in the second session, I already announced Tamara. So she's going to be our expert for the next session that we call Power of Radio. So we're going to speak about power of voice, imagination. We're going to try to speak about the importance and how to organize when you have a guest in studio through some practical tips and tricks. And then we're going to conclude the section with making a radio script and how that's supposed to be done. I know that Tamara has prepared some small task for you that you will have in the next couple of days before we're going to meet again. I think on Wednesday, you'll have opportunity to work a little bit at home. Don't worry, it's not going to be something that's going to take too much of your time, but it's going to be more to stay in touch and to prepare for the next session. So very briefly, that was the program for today. We plan to finish in the next 3 hours. If there is no any questions about the program or any technicalities, or Sino, I'm always looking at you if you have something before we move on to the program. If you have something to announce, to share, now is the moment.
No, it's fine with me. So I think that we can start to have enough time for the sessions.
Great, thank you, Sino. And I don't want to waste more time. I would give a floor to our expert for the first session. It's our colleague and friend Maria Djokovic. She is from Lazarus, from Serbia, but she also can maybe before you, Maria, you start with the presentation. Maybe you can also briefly introduce yourselves, particularly to the people that just joined us. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Igor. Hello, everyone. Once again, I am Maria from Center for Social Innovation Centrifuge, which is the Serbian partner organization in this project. For those of you who are new here, I am a teacher, I am a youth worker, and I am a mom of 2 young children. It's really nice to see you all here today, even though it would have been way cooler if we had had a chance to actually meet each other face to face rather than face to screen like this. But nevertheless, the show must go on, right? And speaking of shows and showing, the aim of this session is to show you some examples of good practice regarding youth radio initiatives around the world. So let me share my screen with you. I have prepared a Prezi so that you can be lazy, sit back and relax for a while, and later on you will get a chance to be more active. Before we get to the examples, I'd like to focus a little bit more on what type of radio youth radio actually is. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, right? Youth radio essentially is community radio. We mentioned non-profit radio yesterday, and we said that basically there are 2 major types of radio broadcasting. We have commercial radio, right, and community radio. In many parts of the world, community radio acts as a vehicle for the community and voluntary sector, civil society, NGOs, and citizens, driving them to work in partnership to obtain community development aims, in addition to mere lighthearted content broadcasting. In many countries, such as France, Argentina, South Africa, Australia, and Ireland, community radio is legally defined as a distinct broadcasting sector, and much of the legislation that regulates this sector mentions phrases and includes phrases such as social benefits, social objectives, or social gain as part of the definition. Despite of the fact that community radio has developed differently in different countries, depending on the needs that different communities have, its uniform feature is the fact that community radio stations serve their listeners by offering a variety of content that is not necessarily, or not normally, or at least not usually, provided by the larger commercial radio stations. Community radio outlets most often carry news and information programming directed at particular local area, aimed at, for instance, immigrant or minority groups that are poorly served by the major media outlets. Specialized musical shows are also often a feature of many community radio stations, and we mentioned this yesterday also. UNESCO is a strong supporter of community radio, and it works to increase the viability of local radio stations around the world. In 2001, the organization's Media Development and Society section produced a community radio handbook to share best practices collected through the organization's involvement in this sector. This handbook, you have the link to it here, specifically gives recommendations to radio station personnel in how to engage their listeners in democratic debate as a means to forward community development. The organization has also supported community radio through direct training of radio station staff. The Empowering Local Radio with ICTs project strengthened the reporting capacities of 59 local radio stations from 2012 to 2018. This UNESCO project was implemented in 10 countries of sub-Saharan Africa. One of the benefits of community radio is that it reaches a wide range of people and addresses the realities of local life. Community radio also often speaks in languages that are ignored by the mainstream media and shares vital information with hard-to-reach audiences. Children and young people make up an important percentage of this audience as well. What makes youth radio essentially a community type of radio is the fact that it primarily serves the needs of one particular community, and in this case it is the community of young people wherever this community may reside. There are numerous examples of youth radio initiatives around the world. Of course, it would be impossible to list them all, so I have chosen 10 examples from Africa, the USA, and Europe. So let's start with Africa. In Africa, there are 200 community stations that are independent, non-profit, and community-based, including youth radio stations. Combined, they broadcast to about 9 million listeners a week, which is pretty awesome. Only 6 years ago, just 6% of Africans access the internet. However, more than 80% listen to radio. Youth in South Africa, in particular, bond with radio. Why is that? Well, the accessibility of the medium, the fact that it is so widespread and cheap to use, the fact that you do not have to own a radio in order to listen to it, the fact that a lot of people can gather around one device and still listen to it. All of these factors combined make youth radio a powerful force for participatory citizenship in debate about issues that are important to youth and their communities, enabling them to become involved, to make a difference. And how is this done? Well, radio in South Africa motivates youth to become part of reporting that considers them as target audience, giving them the power to conceptualize and disseminate youth programs to entertain, but more importantly, to inform and to educate. Radio programming by youth and for youth can be said to be a novelty in South African society. Now we're going to see some concrete examples. It is reported that 500,000 children die in the country each year due to diseases that are connected to, associated with the diarrhea and pneumonia. Children's lives could be saved if hand washing initiatives and hand washing interventions were in place. And I guess that now more than ever, this is a hot topic due to the pandemic and COVID-19 crisis. Youth sponsored the Young Reporters Challenge in 2013 in response to these health hazards. Ahead of October the 12th, which is the Global Hand Washing Day, UNICEF challenged a network of young reporters to develop innovative radio programming to promote hand washing. Youth radio reporters from 7 community radio stations rose to this challenge. The young reporters produced radio features and conducted live interviews, stressing the importance of hand washing and taking seriously their role as hand washing ambassadors. A group of young reporters from a community radio station in Atlantis, which is near Cape Town, better known as Teen Express, won the Grand Challenge Prize. And one of the greatest strengths of Young Reporters Network is actually the ability of reporters to speak about issues affecting their communities. For instance, instead of just creating a generic message on hand washing and sanitation, young people were able to produce inserts relating to specific issues targeting specific group within their communities. Another example is the radio workshop show. The fact that South African youth are really excited about dealing with problems that affect them through radio as a medium is mirrored in this initiative, the radio workshop show. This show features a mix of current affairs, entertainment, information, showcases stories youth can relate to. It airs nationwide and it's available online, accompanied by a podcast in iTunes. Its broadcast included advocacy for a local library, audio profiles of young refugees, a profile of an architect, a medical doctor responding to questions, and conversations with youth about dedication and motivation. These programs are designed to inspire and nurture a generation of youth leaders. Another example of a radio program produced by youth and for youth is Mwanda Community Radio in the Democratic Republic of Congo. They have a show where young presenters talk about issues affecting youth in their community. The theme of each edition, of each show, being chosen by the listeners. Members of the community and experts are invited into the studio to debate with the young audience, who also make their opinions heard. Messages to raise awareness about important issues are passed in a creative way, using music and jingles, of course, to attract the attention of young people. And one of the programs, for example, dealt with the reluctance that young people face on the issue of voluntary HIV testing. Okay, and the last example from Africa is an initiative coming from Search for Common Ground, and it's called Youth Radio for Peace Building. Search for Common Ground is an organization founded in 1982, and it uses innovative tools to deal with conflict resolution, including media production. Radio for Peace Building Africa is an initiative of theirs that provides resources for African radio journalists to produce programs addressing peace building, as well as strengthening the ability of community radio stations. A special guide entitled Youth Radio for Peace Building prepared to help young people and radio practitioners to produce youth-oriented programming, fostering youth participation in the debate on this issue. And you have the link to this guide right to the USA. There are many examples of resources designed in particular, to support young radio practitioners. The stories we bring from the USA focus particularly on initiatives directed at launching and promoting these resources. The first one is called Youth Radio. Youth Radio is an organization that trains young people in media production. Its focus on digital media and technology aims to foster youth professional development and participation in debate on issues of public concern. Through Youth Radio's Innovation Lab, new tools are developed to tell creative stories. Among other articles related to its activities, Youth Radio team published online tutorials on how to find your radio voice and how to come up with your own mobile app that can provide useful insights for young radio practitioners, and links to both tutorials are also included in this presentation. And the next example is Transom, which is an online platform administered by the organization Atlantic Public Media, aimed at innovating public radio. It provides a space for new ways of radio production, new voices, exchanging ideas, training tools, etc. There are several tutorial guides available on its website to develop both technical and journalistic skills of radio practitioners. And one of these guides is specifically designed for young people. It's called Shout Out. It's a guide to recording stories. And you also have the link to it there. The next one is called the Radio Diaries. Radio Diaries is a project started as far back as in 1996, and this project gives voice to ordinary people who document their own lives in audio pieces. It also often reveals moving stories for public radio. The project team published a citizen journalism guide called the Teen Reporter Handbook to help youngsters, but in general, people, anyone who wants to make radio and tell stories. The publication is also available online, and it has been used in some schools in the USA to train teenagers in radio production. And the last example from the USA called Sound Portraits. This is a project that is no longer active. It was dedicated to telling stories of neglected voices in the US with an innovative approach to debate issues of public concern, such as poverty, crime, and race. Education programs were produced based on the project activities, such as Young Portraits and Ghetto Life 101, which is one of the first radio projects ever launched. Again, back in 1903, in order to help young people to tell their own stories. Training tools are available also online in the form of a recording and guides for both of these programs. Ghetto Life 101 is a really famous program. It features two African-American boys, 13 and 14 years old, and it is in a form of audio diaries of life on Chicago's South Side. The boys walk listeners through their daily lives, to school, I don't know, to throw rocks at cars, to a bus ride that takes them out of the ghetto, and so on. And what is really interesting is that their honesty actually brings listeners face to face with this portrayal of poverty and danger and the effect that they can have on childhood in one of Chicago's worst housing projects. Ghetto Life 101 became one of the most acclaimed programs in public radio history, winning almost all of the major awards in American broadcasting. We have the link to the original show here, and I think that it's really worth listening to. That will be all from the USA, and now, hello Europe. Europe offers a mosaic of different youth radio initiatives as well, and we have chosen two interesting ones, and both of them happen to be from the UK. So I have 12 points go to the UK, I guess. The first one is Youth Radio Network. Youth Radio Network is obviously a UK-based digital place where young people can easily develop their skills and interests. It acts basically as a sounding board for youth news and issues and promotes youth organizations in general. It focuses on topical issues such as bullying, racism, LGBT rights, and so on. The platform is completely digital, so anyone can present from them from any location, basically. They are also keen on helping young people to get into employment and hope that they can help open doors for young people looking for a career in the broadcasting industries. The Youth Radio Network's vision is to teach, empower, and entertain young people. So teach, what I want to do is teach young people how the broadcasting industry works and what it involves, as well as to help them understand what employers in different industries look for. This could include helping them build or create their CVs, doing mock interviews, or helping them build a contact and get different experiences. By empowering, they mean giving young people the opportunity, skills, and equipment that they need to get experience in the broadcast industry. They do this through their cloud-based web system that allows volunteers to broadcast from anywhere in the world with just a PC, a laptop, an internet connection, and a USB mic. By this, they empower young people to have their voice heard, to speak their opinion, to be recognized and gain as much experience in different industries as possible, thus helping them to be more employable. And finally, they also want to entertain while making sure it is sounding fresh and upbeat, and something that young people feel that they can get involved in. They're also eager to highlight any musician, band, young artists, and witness new stars being born. Okay, and the last youth radio example is called Comic Youth Radio. It is an initiative of Comic Youth, a creative community organization led by young people, for young people, founded in 2015. And their aim is to empower youth across the Liverpool City region to flourish from the margins of society, to find confidence within an inclusive community, and to develop the resilience to succeed on their own path, where they offer a range of creative services designed to support and amplify the often diminished voices of marginalized young people, from design creation to comic book reading workshops to youth-led radio. They believe that the young people deserve to have their voices heard and discovered, elevated, distributed, and so on. One of their podcasts is titled, and this is interesting, it was interesting for me, Lockdown at the Disco. It is available on their website. I also found it on Spotify. It is like a riotous recording about surviving or living through lockdown. What makes their show special is that they don't hold back to touch upon sensitive topics such as suicidal ideation, trans identity, self-injury, basically everything and anything that is important to young people and their identities. So that's pretty much it. Okay, what's next? We are going to take a deep dive, a plunge into the unknown. I'm going to pass the floor to Igor to explain what we're going to do next. I will leave the link to this presentation in the chat box. And I hope this wasn't too much for you. It was really hard to pick and choose from a plethora of different initiatives around the globe. If you have any questions, comments, sticks or stones to throw at me, I'm here. And that's it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Maria, so much for the presentation and all the exploration you did in order to prepare this. And thank you to graphically, it was amazing presentation. I really like Prezi and all of your inputs that you prepared for this one. A lot of information, but I will use this opportunity to ask you, maybe you have explored many examples of different youth radio, community radios, and so on. And on one hand, on the other hand, I know that you're also a youth worker, someone who is running organization in your country, in your city, and so on, developing many projects, interacting with young people, with institutions, on the local level, and so on. So what do you think, based on all these experiences that you have collected, what experience could be the most applicable in a case of, for example, your organization or your city, or probably is the different pieces from all of this, but can you see something that is that can be used straight away as an experience? Because I also gonna ask other participants as well in a coming stage to discuss this. So maybe just if you thought about this.
Well, actually, yeah, that's a good question. I have. There is a peculiarity about the CSO sector or the NGO sector in Serbia. I don't know if Igor, you got the same impression. People are like, the NGO sector is kind of stigmatized in Serbia because the general audience, the general community thinks that this sector is all about money laundering somehow. I don't know why. So young people, in particular in my city, in my region, are kind of reluctant to get involved because of all of these like misinterpretations that exist. So once we went to a local high school to give a presentation of a project and ask young people to get involved. And one of the teachers there, who is a civic education teacher, she allowed us to hold this presentation. And then when we left, she told the students, okay, be careful, don't get involved, youth organizations, they're not really that transparent and so on. So maybe in order to break this stigmata or whatever, we need actually to implement a project inside of a high school to show them how the youth NGO sector works. And one of these guides was a teen guide that can be very, very helpful in teaching teens how to make their own high school radio. So maybe, yeah, we can start from there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for this. When I saw your presentation, when you sent to me, I checked this UNESCO handbook that you shared with us, and I also shared in chat, so you can download it and see it. A lot of very nice examples of different different community radios. It was interesting for me. And that reminds me when you said about this approach and attitude of this civic education teacher. There was an interesting story of establishing a radio on the Philippines of two Christians and Muslim community that were in conflict at some point, and after the peace agreement, it was a lot of efforts have been invested in reconciliation process and so on and so on. Something similar and is in Balkan countries, and it was interesting their story about establishing a radio. They underpinned as one of their commands not to open a radio in any kind of public facility in order to avoid any kind of let's say control from any of the public institutions, municipality, mayor, anything. So they were like looking for a physically divided space to go somewhere and to establish a radio station there, and many other, we can say, technical things. But in general, they would like to be so independent that even the facilities they were looking for, they were needed to be separate from all kinds of institutions there. So there is a lot of first-person stories in this handbook and some nice experiences. So of course, if you have time, you can check them and see if there is something interesting. Once again, thank you, Maria, very much. You stay with us, I hope, during this session. So if there is a question for Maria at this stage, please, you can ask now or in any part of the session. And I will also ask, if you remember, we said as a small homework that you also can explore and share some of the examples that maybe you found either in your country, in your community, or globally. So if anyone wants to share briefly some examples that you consider it would be useful for the rest of the group, please, now is the moment. So anyone? Okay, shukran. I know that you prepared something. Based on your face, I'm pretty much sure that you prepared something. Am I right?
Maybe my face lied.
Okay.
Because I think that I misunderstood the whole thing. I thought that we have to search about our community and our country, and I searched. And actually, Ivana is missing, so I'm missing her. And yesterday she mentioned a multiculti radio that existed but doesn't exist anymore. And actually, I went through it and I read a lot, and there were a lot of programs for youth, and it was a bilingual radio, so it was good. But globally, I haven't searched, so I don't have any example to share.
No problem, no problem at all. Anyone else wants to share something? If there is. Matthias?
Yeah, because I'm working in context, looking for refugee radio stations refugees, and I found a few. I found one in Satari camp, which is in Jordan and houses many Syrian refugees. And there they have a radio station that is community-led, with music, but also, and this is something I found really interesting, they also did educational programs, so education for elementary school and high school kids via the radio. And I found very similar initiatives also in like Dadaab camp in Kenya, where there are a lot of Somalian refugees. Similar initiatives to reach people, to inform people, to educate people, bring them together as a community.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, Ivana joined us, so she can also at some point present some example from her country, from North Macedonia as well. If there is no one else to present. Okay, Ivana,
my turn. Sorry, I'm late. I thought that it's from 5 o'clock and not from 4. But
no
okay.
problem.
I'm on time.
You're just in time.
Yeah, my time to speak. Okay, I will share just like one poster I made with some key points for the examples from North Macedonia. Share screen. Okay, can you see it?
Not, yeah, now it's okay.
Okay, I don't have that good skills for creating stuff, but this is what I can do. So I know that yesterday we talked a little bit about MOF radio. Maybe Semi, Ana Maria, or Shukrana Simona mentioned it today, as it was their homework to look if there is in Macedonia youth radios or examples for youth radios. So about Radio MOF, as also what was his name? Somebody yesterday mentioned it, but doesn't matter. It was formed by the students in North Macedonia, and is a good example because it functions within an organization. That the name of the organization is Youth Educational Forum, and it's formed in 2011 as an online medium and a digital radio, open for the youth, open for cultural and creative community. The radio is part of a project that is called Youth Activism. Also, it has a different kind of activities online presented. So it's interesting to mention that there was the first time that the first program delivered by a person with disabilities with Down syndrome. And that is an interesting part because the guy's name is, let me just check, Alexander, and he's running the show. So it's like a half-an-hour show that he's running for raising awareness and talking about people with Down syndrome and other disabilities. Also, there are a lot of debates on different topics. Also interesting is that HERA, it's another non-governmental organization from North Macedonia, has a show. It's called Sexy Malo, in translation that is Sexy Neighborhood, and they are talking about information about the sexual and reproductive health. So it's very important because not only the radios but also the mediums in Macedonia, they don't talk about this kind of stuff. It's still a taboo theme for talking about and discussing. Then there is a show that they call it Start Out. It's a show about, it was the first show about LGBTI community, where they discussed about interesting topics. There are also another shows for music and playlists about what the youngsters in Macedonia want to listen. And there is one show about rock music and their biography and how they form it. Also in the North Macedonia, we have 3 non-profit student radios. As you can see here, it's the student FM 92.9. It's a radio for from the University St. Cyril and Methodist. Here is more about the people to practice what they learn at university, for those who are studying for being reporters, but also for the one in the technician universities. Here they do different kind of shows and broadcastings. but it's not only people from St. Kirill and Methodist, but they also open calls for other students to join them. Then is the UKLFM. It's from the University St. Clement Ohridsky, that's from Bitola. It's another radio that is interesting and they're using it. And also the one from the University Goce Delta from Štip, UGDFM. And also the last one, I didn't have that much information about it. It's an independent radio, Channel 103. But this one, as I read, it is a radio that is run inside the Macedonian radio. That I don't know how it's called really, but they start working in 2007, and then they stopped. They had a little break, and then in 2010 they reopened again. It's an independent radio because people they prepare their own broadcasting, they prepare their own material and debates. It's a free for every youngster, every young people that they want to join and share more information online. Invite people from different organizations, youngsters from different schools or universities. So this is the last one that we had, like the independent radio, Channel 103. And I think, yeah, those are the ones that I know.
Great, Ivana. Thank you so much for this. And I maybe going to ask the same question I asked Maria before. I know that you're about to start with this multicultural radio and thinking about this and so on. So based on the examples that you listed from your country, so what do you think you can take as a good practice for establishing your own radio, you as a CIDR multicultural radio? What do you say?
I think that the MOF radio is doing the good job, and maybe we can follow the steps that they are doing with the different thematics broadcasting that they are doing, inviting high school students, inviting people from university to discuss about different topics. But also I think good practices, because as we mentioned, we need to make it bilingual. So invite also somebody from the municipality of Lipkovo when we talk about primary school and also secondary school. There's a secondary school there. And then tackle taboo themes and discuss about them, because youngsters in North Macedonia, they don't talk about taboo themes. They don't talk about a lot of stuffs online. But also as I don't know who was in my group, I think Matthias or Emma mentioned it, that they don't talk even with their friends about those kind of topics. They keep it to themselves, and here the radio is going to be anonymous if you don't want to share your name, who are you and what you do, but maybe you can share your story and raise awareness for others.
Great. Thank you once again. Any questions for Ivana or Maria, or anything to share at this point?
I just want to tell Ivana that I can be her guest if she wants it.
The first one, Shukran, the first one, you know, as a special guest star to open the radio. Okay. So what I thought it would be good to do in the next 20 minutes and to discuss based on these examples of a good practice. I think that it would be good maybe to go to your country groups and try to, based on these presented examples, but also on your thoughts about these, to discuss in your country group what is the most applicable in your case. That's what I asked Maria or Ivana. So what do you think it was the most applicable from the cases that you have explored? So based on all of these, but also maybe it was too much information at some point, but please think also about potential obstacles you could identify when it comes to these three topics. But please do not limit yourself only on these three. It's more triggered for thinking about. So the first thing, it's think about social gain and content creation. So any obstacles that you can see at this moment when you consider yourself as someone who is establishing, let's say, youth or community radio. Also, if you notice some good example from Maria's and Ivana's presentation, also can be mentioned here. The second thing that I would like to point you out is how to reach out to this disadvantaged youth, because we said we're going to establish this radio and we're going to broadcast radio shows again due to our intention to reach out to disadvantaged youth. And finally, recruiting collaborators, associates, anyone who can support you in this job. So I think it's a good moment to go, let's say 15 minutes, to go to your country groups. And I know that you're different from different cities and different backgrounds and so on, but a little bit to discuss on the, please make a print screen and to discuss on these topics. And then when we come back briefly to introduce us about the findings and thoughts and potential obstacles you see in this point. I think Sino wants to add on something, yeah? No, I thought that you were stretching. So I was like thinking that you were raising your hand. So is clear what I'm kindly asking you to do. I will make the groups, so 15 minutes. We're going to try always to, to boost this intercultural approach and to make the mixed groups and so on. But I think at this stage, it would be good to see your current, situation in the countries that you're about to start with this. So think, and in communities that you're living, that you're active. So think about these three topics. Identify potential applicability from the cases that you have had the opportunity to hear today, and also think about some potential obstacles you could identify related to this. Any questions before we move on to groups? If there is no question, so I made the 4 groups. And if I miss something, please, if I put you in a group that it's not your country group, please let me know, just leave the group and I'm going to be in the plenary. So please, I would kindly ask in each group, maybe one can take very brief notes in order to inform us when we come back. So let's say 15 minutes for this, okay? Okay, I just opened the groups, so please accept the invitation.
The outside. We were talking about different NGOs and people that already worked with prisons, so that maybe we can get in contact with them and they could help us. We didn't really talking about the content that we would provide, we're not really sure yet. Maybe it would be some of the support messages from their family members or some messages from art community. But then also the most ideal thing would be to actually get into the prison and ask the prisoners what would they want to hear. But obviously that probably would not be able to, so yes.
Thank you, Nicolina. I think it's a great, I also said in your group, I think it's a great idea to reach out to these population, to people in, young people in the correction centers, in juvenile prisons and so on, because I said probably no one, and then Maria corrected me and said there is no organization that is working now with them. So for sure it could be a great impact working with them, and using radio in that sense could be very, very, very useful. I think it's a great idea. Thank you so much. And then Georgia.
Yeah, so we briefly talked about where each of us have come from and what experience we can bring. So we have special experience in working with people with disabilities and kind of facilitating radio run by people with disabilities. We also are interested in looking at developing resources and better access for young people to actually access centres where they can develop work. and also kind of looking at local issues such as drug use and also LGBT issues. So those are the kind of things that we were engaging with from our kind of perspectives. And then in terms of challenges, we came across a lot of challenges and not very many solutions yet. So we're looking forward to hearing more and more experiences that we can kind of apply to what we're going to do. But the kind of first thing we spoke about was whether or not radio and or podcasting is actually particularly engaged with by young people at the moment near where we live, and it's something that we kind of realized we didn't know whether young people were even interested. So we decided that we would go and kind of talk to the folks in Liverpool who are kind of in the Northwest in our area already, and we'll be really interested to talk to them and see how they've managed to engage young people where they are. And finally, we spoke about how what kind of voice young people might be interested in kind of putting out across their radio channel. So whether it would be radio for other young people, or whether this would be actually young people wanting to send messages to older generations, or have kind of more of a cross-generational message that they want to kind of voice. So yeah, lots of things came up for us, and obviously we're kind of just getting to know each other as well. So it's really good to kind of start talking, and we realized how many things are going to start coming out of this. So
exactly, yeah. Thank you, George, so much. Yeah, I think exactly many things can come up from some small talks, but yeah, it's good to discuss. And in the coming session, we're also going to exchange experiences from people from different groups. It's not idea to stick you only in the groups from your country. The idea of the whole program is to not just to boost this intercultural dialogue, but to really exchange ideas and best practice examples. I mean, but both highlights and lowlights, which also part, I mean, sometimes lowlights also part of our experience. We can learn more from these things, and it's the lessons learned that we can use and share with others, and based on that experience to improve ourselves in the upcoming endeavors. So thank you so much for this. Exactly, it's 5:30. So it's if there is no one to add something more. Thank you so much for the first session. I propose to have a 15 minutes break, get some rest, to have some time for your own, and then to come at 5:45, so in 15 minutes, so 5:45, to continue with Tamara's session that we already announced. And then maybe we're gonna a little bit, due to this break, maybe a bit prolong the session for maybe 10 minutes, so 7:10, just for you to know if you have some other stuff to do. But we will see based on the progress, but we're gonna try to finish at time. Thank you so much. See you in 15 minutes.